A lot of you have been asking me how and where I hire my contractors. So in this video, I'm going to cover all of that, as well as the best process for hiring, how to assign a test project, and tips for onboarding them, and a lot more. Throughout this video, I'll be referring to this nifty guide by HubSpot, who is the sponsor of today's video and who has provided us with this free downloadable beginner's guide to hiring and managing a team of freelancers. This is honestly a really great guide that you can use as a checklist for when you hire, so I highly recommend you download it below. And I'll also share a lot of my personal tips and hiring documents in this video. So why should you even work with freelancers? There are a lot of reasons, and for me, what I have found really helpful is that they actually help me save money. Yes, I know that you have to spend money to hire them, but they actually save you money in the long term because it frees up your time so you can spend more time doing more important things that only you can do. And especially with the more creative tasks that I need help with, like video editing or graphic design on Canva, they also give me a fresh perspective because they come from different educational backgrounds and they have different kinds of experiences. So I've noticed that when I work with freelancers, there's always some innovation in the stuff that I create, and definitely turning projects around quickly. And actually, even if you hire somebody for, let's say, 5 hours a week, which doesn't seem like a lot, it's actually really helpful because in those 5 hours, you could be doing something else. That person you hired is working on your project, and so things get done a lot quicker. On the flip side, hiring freelancers also helps people in general because you are giving people a job. It says here in the HubSpot guide that 42% of freelancers report that remote contract positions are their only option for work. So when you hire a freelancer, you are giving somebody the opportunity to work, and that's amazing. That is some real impact that you're making on the world. So now let's talk about how to find freelancers, and I want to show you a list of places that you can hire. So there are a lot of websites you can use to hire people, including Upwork, Craigslist, Fiverr, Guru, Freelancer, Workhoppers. Some of these I've never heard of before, but the ones I have used are Upwork, Fiverr. I definitely know LinkedIn, and I actually want to show you where I hired my freelancers. So out of these people that I hired, oh, by the way, the first person is not a freelancer. I actually used a Venture for Canada grant to get reimbursed for the salaries. So it was a part-time job that I had to put them on payroll. But for this one, I used my own network. So I posted the job on LinkedIn and I think a bunch of other places, and that person found me through LinkedIn. The next one was my own network again. My video editor was following me on Instagram. The next one was my VA, which I found on Upwork, and then Upwork again for my second video editor, and then my own network for the third video editor, and then Upwork for my Canva assistant. So I mainly use my own network, and for Upwork, I used it mainly to find the more long-term positions that I have. You can definitely hire for short-term projects on Upwork, but I actually used Fiverr to hire for a bunch of short-term, like one-off projects, which included video editing, making music, Pinterest pins, making greeting cards, this is like designing, making a YouTube intro cartoon, which I did not use, and printable banner for an event, and research for companies. And honestly, using word of mouth to hire freelancers or contractors is really great because if people are already in your network, there's already some level of trust that you have with them. It might not be a lot, but it is more trust than hiring just a random stranger, and you have to build that trust with that stranger with time. Now, when you're posting to these kinds of sites or you're posting on LinkedIn, what do you write in a job description? So actually here, there is a list of things to include, and I think this is really good. I would definitely write about all of these things, especially if you're hiring for something more long-term and it's going to be a relationship that you're going to develop. So I want to show you an actual job description that I used to hire a virtual assistant, and you can see I wrote down exactly what they're going to do, what they need to have, like excellent English writing skills, pay attention to detail, previous experience. This is what I need them to use. So I would prefer if they have experience, and I have responsibilities. So these are the exact things that they're going to help me with, like the main tasks they're going to do. And usually when I post a job description, I also post my social media links so they can take a look at who I am and what my content is about. And usually if they really want to work with me, they'll comment something about my content, like, hey, I saw in your YouTube video this, I really like this, or I like what you do, I like how you do this. And for me, I personally want to work with somebody who resonates with the kind of work that I'm doing. So I also suggest putting into your job description who you are and what kind of business you have. Now, once you've posted the job description, you'll have a bunch of people applying. And so how do you actually hire them? What is the process? So I definitely first take a look at their application and I look at, is it generic? Is it specific? Did they put effort into the application? Did they actually say, hi, Dina? Or is it just, hi, hiring manager? And if it's something creative that I'm hiring for, I'll definitely review their portfolio and take a look at what other work they have done. Sometimes I get people applying who are just in the beginning stages of starting to do this kind of work, so they might not have a portfolio. But if they have a really good application and they've written something that is not generic and is super tailored towards the job description, I would give them a chance and give them an interview. For me, what I really value in a candidate is their personality and character, so I'm looking for that fit. I think that skills can be trained, but people's personality and who they are as a person and their energy level and their enthusiasm, that cannot be trained. For each job that I hire, I usually interview 3 to 6 people, and I'll just schedule that within 1 week and do it on Zoom. Okay, something really important I want to mention is that after you interview people, you might want to do a test project with them. And I'm really happy HubSpot included this because I think a lot of people hire people without really getting the feel for how that person works. So it says here, try to do a test project around 3 to 4 hours max and be very clear whether it is paid or unpaid. So when you do a test project, it's a really great way to see how they work and what the quality of their work is like and how they respond to your instructions. So for me, I did do test projects for the virtual assistant, video editor, and also Canva assistant. This is one of the test projects that I sent. So there were 3 tasks and I set a limit of 60 minutes for this one. Choosing the right person is something that I find very, very difficult, especially if there are 2 or 3 people who have around the same level of skills and they all seem really great to work with. But I think what I usually go with is the fit in terms of personality and how I vibe with them, because for the kinds of tasks that I'm hiring for, I can train people. So for me, personality is more important. So who you hire really depends on what you are looking for that role, and I would say there's no right way. Now, once they are hired, what do you do? So how do you manage your relationships with your freelancers? So I would definitely read through this and do all of these things. These are very important, like a kickoff meeting, and give them a list of deadlines and what your expected hours are for common projects. Also, if you have any brand guidelines, if you have fonts and logos, I have a couple more tips for you for when you're onboarding. So I usually create a Google folder for everything and I give them access to the stuff that they're going to use. So for example, if it's a video editor, then I will give them access to my B-roll folder and the folder where I put all my videos in progress. I also make a task list on Google Sheets, or you could do it on whatever project software you like using. I also send them a bunch of demo videos of how exactly I like to do certain tasks, and I use Loom for this, but you can also use Zoom if you want to record a demo video. I always do an onboarding meeting that's around an hour long, going over my business, the general thing that I'm trying to do and how they fit into this and what are their responsibilities, deadlines, and my expectations. And I have a bonus tip if you really want to build a really great working relationship with the person you hired. And this tip is to mail them something or to send them a gift, kind of like an onboarding gift. So in the past, I've sent cards if they're really far away. I've mailed like a package of, depends on what I feel like they like. So for example, things I might send are maybe a notebook or some kind of a self-care set or something. And even if it's as small as a greeting card that says, welcome to the team, and a couple other things, it makes them feel really good because it makes them feel like they're part of the team and you're welcoming them into this team and they're just not some random person you hired. Something else that is important is to make sure that you have all the admin and the legal stuff related to the hire. Make sure you have that down. So in this HubSpot guide, there is some guidance on the legal and tax things that you have to do. And this is mainly for if you are in the US, but even if you're not in the US, this is useful for you to read and you can research what is required for your own country. And for all this legal stuff, if you're not sure what you're doing, then I would definitely check with an accountant or a lawyer in your area. I have a couple of other tips for hiring. So research if there are any grants or grants for internships in your country, because you can get reimbursed for a portion of what you pay the contractors or freelancers or your employees. friends. And I know I mentioned a lot about using my own network to hire, and there is some debate about whether or not you should hire friends or not hire friends. For me, I have hired friends before. I've had great experiences, but I've also had not so great experiences. But I think with the great experiences and the not so great experiences, I've learned from all of these, and now I do feel comfortable hiring friends. It really depends on what the role is, how close you're working with them, and I think it's really important to set boundaries and talk to that friend beforehand and say, okay, look, the friendship is first. We're going to also have a working relationship. Now, what do we do if things are not working out? So I make sure that I talk to the friend and establish that we are really going to communicate with each other and to be open with each other if there is any kind of issue. Something I found really helpful if you are working with a friend is actually to have 2 ways of messaging them. So with my third video editor, who is a friend of mine, I would use Facebook Messenger to chat with him about stuff that we would chat about as friends, and we would use WhatsApp for everything that is work related to the video editing that he's doing. Now, I know hiring is a huge topic, so let me know in the comments what other questions you have about hiring. Do you want to know more about the onboarding process or how I interview people, or just any questions you have? Leave them below in the comments. So I hope this video was useful, and remember to download this HubSpot guide for hiring freelancers because it has a ton of information that you can use for when you hire somebody. So good luck, and I'll see you in the next video.